Raider Nation, what's going on? You're watching the Raiders Report. Friendly reminder that this video was filmed on Friday during our Raiders Friday Happy Hour show. If you want to join us for all of our Friday Happy Hour shows, believe it or not, it's on Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 1 p.m. Pacific. Let's go to the first question. Rolling in here from Patrick B. Oh, shit. Bang! The defense seems to have an actual direction for the first time in years. Now that Paul Guenther is more of his guys than the other DC guys, the defense can be scary good this season if it clicks. I do think that this defense has the opportunity to surprise a lot of people out there, and it's simply because when you have the extra year of you learning the system that you're about to play in, that goes a long way. I mean, the fact that you've had a Paul Guenther, a Gus Bradley, a Patrick Graham system, all these different defensive schemes is one of the biggest reasons why that this Raiders defense year in and year out has been bad. Think about all the turnover, all these new coaching staffs, all these new regimes that are being brought in. If players like Divine Diablo, Trevon Merrick, and then the defensive tackles can step up. If Chandler Jones, Tyree Wilson are 100% healthy, if players like Nate Hobbs can go back to being like a top cornerback in the NFL, Duke Shelley plays the way that he did at the end of last season, this defense could be a lot better than what it's going to get credit for. Let's go to Benjamin Perez, first-time super. If Jimmy G stays healthy for most of the season and our defense is better this year, how likely is it that we win our division? I hope that the Raiders win their division, man. There would be nothing that would make me happier than winning the AFC West. The problem is you got the Chiefs, right? The Chargers are a good team. The Broncos don't scare me. And for the Raiders here, even if Jimmy G stays healthy, I don't see them being better than Kansas City. The only way that happens is if Mahomes goes down with an injury. Probably if Mahomes tries to throw the football the way that Madden thinks that he's going to throw the football. I'm going to say less than 1% chance that they win the AFC West, and that's Kansas City, though. Let's go to this one coming in here from Kane. Who is a surprise corner the Raiders could cut this upcoming season? I would say David Long Jr. would probably be the name that I would roll with, and the only reason why I'm going to go with that is because I know the Raiders are very high on Sam Webb. I know that the Raiders like, Bryce Cosby, and we saw last offseason that the Raiders, the first player that they signed was Darius Phillips. Shit, they cut him, so he didn't even make the team. David Long is going to have to compete for his spots. Brandon Faison's going to make the roster. The amount of money that they gave him shows that. Obviously, Jacorian Bennett, Tyler Hall, Duke Shelley, Nate Hobbs, all of those players are going to make this team. So depending on how many cornerbacks that they take, and if they decide, you know what, I'd rather be able to bet on a young player, second-year UDFA that we had last season, like Sam Webb, that could be the difference between him and David Long Jr. So my question to you is this, and we're going to make this the pinned comment on today's mailbag, so every single one of y'all, Raider fans out there, will David Long Jr. make the Raiders' 53-man roster? I want you to type yes, or I want you to type no. You're about to get hit with a YouTube ad break, so scroll on down right now and give me your answer. Let's go to Paul. What up, Paul? How many sacks for Mad Max, Wilson, and Jones? It's a hell of an answer. One of my bold predictions this year, and it's bold, 20 sacks for Mad Max. Actual prediction, I'll say 15. To me, Crosby doesn't get nearly enough credit, for being one of the best edge rushers in the National Football League. So I'll say give me 15 for Max. Let's say Tyree Wilson's going to be around 7. And then I'll say Chandler Jones also is going to be around 7, which 29 sacks for those 3. Let's go to Rob G. Who do you think is going to start week 1 at quarterback? Jimmy Garoppolo. I'm just kidding. This isn't a Jimmy Garoppolo jersey. Shout out to Marianne. Shout out to Rebel Montana. Garoppolo, I've done a lot of shows. I've done a lot of rumors, and that's part of the gig here, right? You got to get people to be interested in the videos that you're doing. But deep down, the Raiders expect Garoppolo to be ready. I've talked to a few doctors out there that say that they're essentially going to give him 16 weeks to heal for an 8 to 12 week injuries that he has sustained. It's going to be Garoppolo, and if it's not, you cut him and you save all his entire contract. Let's go to Smart UK. What up, Martin? Why delay signing the franchise tag, holding out for a better pay offer from elsewhere? I mean, I think it's a both sides thing. The example that I continue to give is, Mario, I know it's been a few years since you've been in school, but like imagine getting a homework assignment from your teacher, and the homework assignment is due July 17th. Are you going to do it now on June 9th? Are you going to do that homework assignment? The answer to that is probably not. You're going to wait a little bit. So the Raiders know that they don't have to technically negotiate a brand new contract with Jacobs if they want to extend him until July 17th. Jacobs also knows that he doesn't have to sign it technically until July 17th. There's no reason for him to be at minicamp. There's no reason for him to be at OTAs. Like, he knows that he's the main running back here. I respect the fact that he wants to get paid, but at the end of the day, like, deadlines make deals. I believe that this deal does end up getting done. Either Jacobs plays underneath the franchise tag or they extend him. I don't see a realm that Jacobs isn't the star running back for this team this upcoming season. Let's go to Dane. What up, brother? If you were the Raiders, would you trade for Isaiah Simmons? Y'all know how much I like Kyle Van Noy, and I'd probably still say that I might rather sign Van Noy because I don't want to give up draft capital for Isaiah Simmons. But if Isaiah Simmons cost me a 5th-round pick right now, I would do it. There's not many players in the NFL that have the versatility where they can play corner and linebacker. Like, that's phenomenal. And he can play safety. If you want to talk about versatility, I would go out right now. And if the Cardinals, who seem like they are in full tank mode and willing to take just about anything, I would trade for Isaiah Simmons. Now, if an Isaiah Simmons trade were to end up going down, we'd obviously go live. We'd go crazy. We'd get pretty wild here on the Raiders Report. My question to you is this. Are you a Raider fan? If the answer to that is yes. And my next question is, are Raider fans the best fans in the NFL? Well, how about this? I want to prove it to my bosses. I want to prove it to Chat Sports. I want to prove it to every single person out there because I scream from the rooftops that the nation is built different. Take a second, hit that subscribe button, help the Raiders Report win our June sub battle here at Chat Sports. And I'm giving shout outs to all the new subs here. What up, McWill? I'm Tired 001, Selena Smith, Young Bubs, and Bands. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to subscribe to the show. It helps Chugs and I out a lot. And if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? And if you are one of the loyal 137,000 subs we got here, take that link, send it to a diehard Raider fan. Let's go to Jersey Boy Greaser. What's up, my brother? We need to go after Patrick Queen. I think there's a difference between this time of the offseason with the amount of still talented free agents that are out there. I don't think going out after Patrick Queen is smart. However, monitoring the Patrick Queen situation is an intelligent thing to do. If Baltimore is willing to give you Queen on a another like a day 3 pick type of thing, you're going to do it. I also know the Raiders very much so value relationships. The Raiders have a Ryan. Ryan was an inside linebacker coach for Baltimore in 2021. I get that Queen is an outside linebacker, but I get it. The only thing that I'll pause on this is if, and I'm not talking about a wasted pause, I'm talking about, hey, if the Raiders want to run a 4-2-5, or if they really only want to run with 2 linebackers out there, or they can make Chandler Jones a linebacker, then I don't know if trading for an LB does make a lot of sense. Let's go to Mario, one of the OGs. What up, Mario? Do you see the Raiders secondary making a major impact this season versus the past 2 seasons for the silver and black? I mean, if you're a top 20 defense, that's the best defense that the Raiders have had since 2014. So I'm hoping that the secondary makes an impact, but we can't always sit up here and blame the secondary. Like, the problem is, like the casual fan, it's easy to blame the quarterback. Why? Because everyone sees the quarterback. The casual fan, it's also easy for them to blame the secondary because you see the secondary getting burned. But what people don't realize is if you can't get after the quarterback and your defensive line is terrible and your secondary has to cover 4 or 5 seconds in the National Football League, you're going to get beat most of the time. So really what it comes down to me is this secondary is a good secondary. I'll say that. It's a good secondary. It's can the Raiders actually get after the quarterback and they don't have all day to sit back there and pick apart a defense? That's the big question. Let's go to GC Sports. Hey, Mitch, I haven't heard anything about David Abuka-Ogoa. How is he doing? Have you heard anything about him? I actually talk to him on a weekly basis. And what I appreciate about certain players is when guys take advantage of their time. Have I asked him how are things going? He said yes. He told me that he looks up to Max Crosby. He looks up to Chandler Jones, which if you're a defensive end in the National Football League, you should. But he also told me that both of those guys have really helped him out and a lot of the younger players not only understand the Graham system, but better get themselves acclimated to the NFL. He told me that he's best friends with George Tarlis and he's best friends with Adam Plant Jr. But in terms of how he's actually doing on the field, unfortunately, I haven't heard much around him personally. He does have a roster spot right now, though. He's the Pathway program. So if you're wondering why can the Raiders have 91 players right now, it's because of David Oboka-Ogoa. So that's why. Let's go to Michael Thomas. Who will be the safeties the Raiders keep for the 53-man roster? Oh, boy. I would say, no doubt, it's Marcus Epps, Trevon Merrick. And then after that, you're obviously going to keep Chris Smith. Here's where it gets interesting. If the Raiders want to keep Isaiah Pola-Mao, who I do think that they end up keeping because of his versatility at safety and linebacker, but they might not keep him at safety. They might keep him as a linebacker, which could mean some bad things for Luke Masterson. I know Roderic Teamer's a good special teams player, and Jaquan Johnson is a dude that they signed this offseason. What it really comes down for me is there's going to be one spot, and that spot's going to be between Johnson, Teamer, and, Pola-Mao. So, Jugs, I'm glad that you were going to bring this question up here. If you could keep only one player, who would that player be? You can only keep one on your 53-man roster projection. And for those of you that are watching this live, we're about to get into our 53-man roster projection here on the show. Who you keeping? You keeping JJ? You keeping Roderic Teamer? Or are you going to keep Isaiah? I think Jaquan might be the best safety out of all of these players. However, this Raiders organization, this Raiders defense, Patrick Graham, values versatility. The most versatile player is Isaiah Pola-Mao, which is why I believe that they end up keeping him. Let's go to Raider B-Dog. What is our biggest need right now? Our biggest need right now, I would have to say, is the defensive tackle room still makes me nervous. Linebacker also still makes me nervous because, I get that this is the offseason hype season. I get Divine Diablo, best shape of his life. I get that the linebackers look a lot better. LB does make me a little bit nervous, and then we still don't know if Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be our starting quarterback. If Garoppolo's not, I hand the keys to Aiden O'Connell and let it ride. But at this point, if you could still add a versatile player like a Kyle Van Noy, I would say he's a big-time need. If y'all haven't already interacted with me on social media, hopefully y'all know where to find me. If you don't, that's on you, at Mitchell Renz 365. And then if you want more live shows from me, hit me up on Locals, RaidersReport.locals.com. I go live every single Monday and Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Let's go to Robert. What up, Robert? Should we trade Renfrow for picks? Use the 11.4, it's technically 11.3, to help pay Josh Jacobs and fill more defensive needs. By the way, 3+ years here, and I finally put up a pick. It's about damn time. I'm sick and tired of seeing that pink R on the screen. If you do move on from Renfrow, I do think what you end up doing is taking that $11.3 million, and yeah, you should invest it into some other players. If you want to give Josh Jacobs a long-term deal, go ahead and do it. I personally would, best case scenario, Jacobs plays underneath the franchise tag. And then on top of that, you use that $11.3 million and you go pay. Hang on. I need a drink.
Glug.
You go pay some of the defensive players. You ever get a burp? And you get a burp and you're like, oh, man. Totally took my breath away. That was a bad one. Let's go to Dylan. Any updates on Pola-Mao? So the latest reports that I've heard about him, the Raiders have been using him as a safety and linebacker. Last offseason, he was playing, I'm going to say, at 220 pounds. He's tried to put on about 15 pounds to be that more of a hybrid as a linebacker. I also think that he just sees that linebacker is a weaker position for him. The Raiders have Merrick. The Raiders have Epps. And the better shot of him making this roster means, guess what? He can end up playing linebacker. But this coaching staff likes him. He's related to Kennedy Pola-Mao and also, Troy Pola-Mao. Let's go to this next one. Rolling in here from Rebel. $20 for Mitch going to win the contest. We might be taking some bets. Just saying. I appreciate the fact that you're going to be betting on me, Rebel. I am a little bit nervous because Jermaine, to me, has said that he's going to go for it. And if he does, he's going to challenge me. Now, for me personally, for the wing eating contest, and I get it, people who are watching this live, you get it. People who are not watching this live, it's going to be a little bit weird. I'm better. Like, if the competition was 20 minutes long, I think I would win. 10-minute long makes it a little bit more difficult. I'm not a speed eater. I'm built on longevity. But, Rebel, I appreciate you having my back. Now, we're going to wrap up today's mailbag. Huge shout out to every single person that tuned in. If you haven't already, take a second, subscribe to the Raiders Report. Make sure that you're tuned in, always watching the show. We got news, we got rumors, we do crazy live shows as well. I love all y'all to the end of the world and back. You guys help me out in a lot of other ways that you don't even realize. So seriously, Rebel, Zon, all the GOATs, much love to every single one of y'all. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button.